Hey everybody, let's talk about the communication cycle. So communication involves two or more individuals participating in an exchange of information. So you have to have two people and they have to participate for this communication cycle to actually work effectively. It involves sending and receiving messages even when these participants are not consciously aware of them. There are 5 basic elements included in the communication cycle. We'll break each one of these down. The first is the sender. The sender begins the communication cycle by encoding or creating the message to be sent. Before creating the message, the sender must observe the receiver to determine how complex the words need to be within the message, the receiver's ability to interpret the message, and the best channel by which to send the message. So let's think, are you going to talk to a 3-year-old differently than you would a 65-year-old? Most definitely. The words you choose, the way that you speak to them, your inflection, all of those items may be different. You're not going to write or give written communication to a 3-year-old because they won't be able to read. However, the 65-year-old may have some hearing loss and you may actually give them written word versus spoken word. So it's really important for the sender to assess what they need to encode or create before the message is sent. It's a very important step in this communication cycle. Next, we have the message. This is the content of what's being communicated. The message must be understood clearly by the receiver. So when we develop the message, it's important to consider the patient's age, if they have any special needs, their health status, nationality or culture, and any visual or hearing impairments. Then we have our channel or mode of communication. There are 3 channels of communication: speaking and listening, gestures or body language, and writing. These channels are affected by our physical and mental development, our culture, and also our education and life experiences, our impressions from different role models and mentors, and also how we feel about and accept ourselves as individuals. So many things affect these channels or these modes of communication. You know, it's really funny right now, we're all wearing masks when we're around each other, and some of these modes of communication are being cut off. You know, we're really used to using what people's faces look like to interpret some of these messages. So just think about that as you're thinking about that channel or that mode of communication, that some of our gestures and our body language and our facial expressions are being kind of downplayed and we're not able to actually utilize them as much. But also remember that it's a lot about what we say and a lot about how we act, and also that writing, that written word can be a channel of communication. Then we have the receiver. So this is the person that receives the message. They have to decode it and interpret the meaning of the message. The primary sensory skill used in verbal communication is listening, right? Are they listening to the message? It's really hard to concentrate and listen. We could all do a better job at it. It's really, really difficult. So when we decode the message, the receiver must be aware of not only the words that are spoken, but also the tone and the pitch of the sender's voice, the speed at which it's spoken. And written communication allows for a little bit more of a review. So if you're having to listen to the sender's message, you only have that limited amount of time to assess what that person is saying. Now with written communication, we can digest this information a little bit longer, right? We can review it and try and interpret what that message is actually saying. So that's the kind of nice thing about written communication. And sometimes why emails are good. However, we can't always interpret tone or if there's sarcasm or things like that, sometimes with written word. And now feedback. Feedback takes place after the receiver has decoded the message sent by the sender. Feedback is the receiver's way of ensuring that the message that's understood is the same as the message sent. So feedback allows for clarification of any misunderstanding. So this is the way that the receiver is able to say, I understand what you said. Is this correct or incorrect? And it's important to have that so everyone is on the same page, right? And this is a nice little graphic you see here. We have our sender. They're the one that creates the message. We have the message and the channel of communication. Then we have our receiver. And then we have feedback that goes back to the sender so that the sender can say, no, that's not what I was saying. Or, yes, exactly, that's exactly what I was saying. So this is just a quick overview of our communication cycle. So be sure you understand this process and these 5 different steps.